Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Kerrigan.
Hello, hello. It's wonderful to be here with you all. This is very, very interesting because we had a lot of time between shows. So now we're here with a new show. We will have more shows. So we just made it kind of a hiatus of three. I think it was three shows, and now we're back again. We're back, and this will be a big time show, because this show today we have someone very, very special talking about astrology in a very different way, and we really do love different ways. So here we are. Before we go any further with anything else, I just wanted to show you a couple of our websites. As usual, I always do that. One of them, well, the first one is Witch Talk Ustream on Facebook. So you can actually go on this page to know everything about us, when the show is going to be. There is some kind of confusion sometimes when I do shows that people are sometimes in Europe, and they don't really know when the timing is. It's always at 4 o'clock in the afternoon here in the United States, Eastern Standard Time, because I'm in Massachusetts, and that's, you know, my reference, obviously. And I have to have the reference from the place that I am in, and then it's approximately 9 o'clock in Europe. So there are a few variations, but you know, the majority of the countries in Europe, it will be 9 o'clock in the evening. So it will be 21 hours in most of Europe, because that's the type of reference that Europeans have. They have military hours, so it will be at 21 hours. And it will be 9 o'clock p.m. So that's it about our website. We also want to point out that if you want to just go on Facebook and watch us directly, you can click here on Ustream Live, and that will take you into our channel right here. And you don't even go out of Facebook, so that's a very, very good thing. Another one, it's an announcement. I have to do an announcement now. Talk about logiosbiz.biz, www.logios.biz, and this is our sponsor, which is a publisher not only of books but also of CDs and DVDs soon. We have an official release of the new book of David Conway called Magic Without Mirrors. It's a new release of his book, and it would be on October 7th on Atlantis Bookshop in London. For those who don't know, Atlantis Bookshop is a reference in the cult world worldwide. There was a lot of personalities on the occult world that actually visited Atlantic Bookshop, and they were customers on the Atlantic Bookshop. And I'm talking about, Aleister Crowley, I'm talking about Gerald Gardner, I'm talking about all of those people and more. And this is really a big event that will be going to happen on October 7th at Atlantis Bookshop. Don't forget also that on that day there will be events also about the Pagan Federation in London, because they are celebrating their 40th anniversary. So it's really a big time for the cult world in London. So official release of the book Magic Without Mirrors by David Conway, The Making of a Magician, a biography released and published by Logios Publishing, and it will be released on October 7th on the Atlantic Bookshop in London. And that's basically it, I think. That's all the news I have from our websites. Now, I think that I have to tell you how you can contact us on Witch Talk. Here we go. So, you want to know how to keep in touch with everything Witch Talk? Go to www.witchtalkshow.com and follow all the latest news. Listen directly to the show and enjoy it. If you're on the move, take Witch Talk with you by subscribing to our Witch Talk podcast on iTunes or by following us on Buzzsprout Witch Talk site by going to witchtalkbuzzsprout.com. Don't forget to join us on Ustream Crowd. Go to www.ustream.tv/channel/witchtalk-show. Miss the show? Don't worry. Every show will be recorded and available for you to watch or listen both in Ustream and Buzzsprout. Witch Talk will air every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or approximately 9 p.m. Watch us on Ustream. Follow us on Twitter at Carrigan, Kharagan, with an H after the K, or send us an email at witchtalkshow@gmail.com. Now back to the show. And back to the show it is. Here I am again with Witch Talk now. So, you want to know how to keep in touch with everything Witch Talk? Go to www.witchtalkshow.com and follow all the latest news. Listen directly to the show and enjoy it. If you're on the move, take Witch Talk with you by subscribing to our Witch Talk podcast on iTunes or by following us on Buzzsprout. Witches Talk, about which books witches read. With Indigo Estrella. Witch Reads. Hi, Indigo.
Hi, Kerrigan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been so long.
I know. It's been a while since I had witch reads, but you know, it's always a good thing. I mean, it's always kind of like it's good when people wait, I think.
Yeah.
Don't you think? Because then they miss us.
I missed us.
Yeah, I know.
I'm really glad that we're pretty much almost completely up through the second week of November, so we won't be taking any breaks anytime soon, in the foreseeable future, at least.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. Now, you bring us something very different. We never had this before.
Yeah.
It's something special because it's something that it's not a tarot deck, and it's actually not a book. It's kind of
it's made out of paper, though.
Yes, it is, but it's a beautiful, beautiful astrological thing.
It's Llewellyn's 2012 astrological calendar, and I'm sort of in shock that we're already at that time of year where you have to start thinking about which calendar you're going to buy. I'm just in shock. We're almost in October.
Did we just pass a whole year?
We did.
I'm
having a moment, but I'm actually very excited to review this calendar because it's something in between a book and a tarot deck. It's on par to a tarot kit for me because there's gorgeous illustrations by John J. Blumen.
Yes.
And if you remember, he's the illustrator for The Wizard's Tarot, which I reviewed a few months ago.
Yes.
And really, really beautiful images inside. And what's different with Llewellyn's astrological and the Witch's calendar is that they contain articles. So unlike most calendars where it's maybe an image and the monthly dates, this actually has articles in the back really get in depth astrology. Which is good. Because if you're buying an astrological calendar, I would like to know a little bit more than just the aspects. So I see you have the images on screen there. There's beautiful pictures of the both the signs, but also if you'll see in other parts of the pictures, there's actually in each picture the constellation.
Yes, there is. This one here, it shows the constellation. Actually, I have to kind of like scoop it a little bit on up like this so that you can see the
Yeah.
constellation.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
it's actually
above. It's right above.
October. It's Libra. So it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. The images, you know, you just really want to kind of like get them and put them in a mat and just do them.
That's my thing. It's, you know, it's so beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah.
Part almost half of that page is taken up by a horoscope.
Yes.
Now, I mean, I know a lot of people who are born on a cusp, and they don't quite fit into the sign that their sun is in, because they have different influences in their chart.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to horoscopes like this, where it's extremely general, I would much rather just get rid of it altogether, give the full screen, the full page of this beautiful artwork that John did. Because, you know, I can read a horoscope in everything from Cosmopolitan magazine to the daily newspaper. You know, I don't really need that. You know, when I buy an
amazing. This one that we have here, the lion, it's just great. Look at this.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It's very, you know, the lion's got that presence that you'd expect from that typical that Leo, just that proud, you know, just
beautiful.
That presence. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love the artwork in here. I think I'm gonna cut out these images after, you know, if we survive 2012. I'm gonna cut out these images and put it in a mat and hang it in my house, because it's absolutely beautiful. It's just gorgeous. But
now let's talk about the you know, the inside, because obviously this is beautiful, but it has to have a practical.
It's a calendar. You want it to have, you know. Well, I mean, obviously anyone can put out, you know, Sunday through Monday, you know, Sunday through Saturday, the dates, and then you know, have it all sorted out. But what it's different about this astrological calendar is it shows. Up in the upper left corner, I don't know if you can zoom in on the pictures very well. But in the upper left corner of each of the dates, there's the moon's quarter, and sign, and the planetary motion. So, for example, I'm looking at January 20th, and it's the fourth quarter with Sagittarius, and the sun is moving towards Aquarius.
Yes.
So, you know, it's that's just in the upper left corner. There's the moon phase, which you know, that changes. You know, for example, on January 8th, half quarter, and then there's the I think that's the new moon. And then in the bottom right corner talks about all the planetary transitions and aspects. Now, if you notice, for example, I think that's January 9th right there. There's a lot of movement going on. If you have any special events going on in your day, you're not going to have much right in that.
You're talking about this beat here, right?
No, January 9th.
Oh, I don't know. Is this January?
Yeah, that's January 9th. That's January 9th.
Okay.
So you see how small that blocks is. Hopefully you have on a Tuesday in January. But then again, that's the reason why you buy an astrological calendar is have those apps.
Do they say in this calendar who did this? I mean, not the art. I mean the astrological. You know, who put it together. I know that there are, you know, tables and things and proper books that you refer to, but still, I mean, you have to put it together. So, do they say
contributing writers are Leslie Francis and Bruce Schofield, and the astrologers Anna Ruiz. Astrological data compiled and programmed by Rike Pottinger, based on the earlier work of Neil F. Michelson.
Okay, because we need to know who these people
are.
You know? It's so cute. You know, everybody talks about these calendars and they go, oh, it's so cute, I love the pictures, and then nobody knows who puts this together. And nobody cares for that matter. So I think that it's a good thing that we have to get a tribute here to the astrologers that are, you know, in charge of these things. Yeah. So those are the astrologers that did it. But just to say probably for the editing purposes, because I've been on a few different books where they're weird placement of articles, and this is no exception. The calendar begins with January. So you open up the page, and then there's the Capricorn sea goat. But
on the very last page
how to use your calendar. So for those people who don't know,
no gardening aspects.
Yeah,
Here we are.
Yeah, that's
how to use your calendar. Now, I think that it would be a much better place if it was the beginning calendar.
I know.
So when you first open up the page, there's also the table of content, the time zone conversions, because the times that are used within the calendar are actually set towards
the Eastern Standard Time,
so Eastern America.
So for those people, they're opening up the page.
We're
okay.
I'm just going to start with January.
Then they don't know. The rest of the world aren't.
Yeah. I mean, you just open up the page. There's January. You don't have to really do much. You might not even look at the back page to figure out how to use your calendar.
I know. It's
so I think
this works like a medication. Okay, you just have to go on the, look at the on the bottle. Just don't look at the, it's pills, but you have to look at, And this is kind of like the end of it, so.
And it's because there's this other information. Like I just turned the page on page 38. It's got ephemeris grids that are actually calculated for Greenwich Mean Time. Which is interesting, considering that the rest of the whole calendar is all set to. But this got the ephemeris tables. Like we mentioned, there's the articles in the back. They actually start with an introduction to astrology by Kim Rogers Gallagher. And it's actually detailed. It goes through all the planets, the signs.
Is this it? This piece here? I think that this is it. No.
Well, yeah, you just pass by all the signs. It goes through the aspects, like conjunction, the sextile, the trine, or
we have gardening also.
Yeah, that's actually interesting because it says that many people claim that they achieved larger produce by gardening by the moon. Also, their fruits and vegetables are more flavorful and nutritious. You agree? Now, I think I'm gonna have to do some gardening next year. I was talking with a friend last night, and we were talking about maybe planting something by the light of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next morning, plant something by the light of the day, and see how that actually compares. Because I've never actually planted by moonlight before.
Yeah.
And what's really good about this calendar, about this article particularly, is it explains the different quarters of the moon and how those will best suit you. So, example, the second quarter, half to full moon. The best to plant includes beans and peas, peppers, squash, and tomatoes. Something that produce their yield above ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes on to planted by the moon sign. For example, if you plant with the moon in Cancer, it's very fruitful, very moist, very feminine. Use it for planting and irrigation. It's really interesting. I think that's really interesting because it's really taking that practical aspect of astrology
Now,
more than just snap.
If you are kind of a beginner in astrology, you don't have any idea what is a transit, any idea of the planets, anything, is this helpful or not?
Well,
because we have to consider all levels. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, yes. There's that introduction to astrology in the back, and Kim pretty much gets into everything that you might have a question about. I mean, everything from describing the planetary influences, like, the sun, Mars, Pluto, etc. And then goes on about the signs, and then I'm interested in astrology, but I'm not an expert by any means. I'll leave that to Jade. But when it comes to like the aspects and transits, I try to get it. But this is actually the best description I've seen so far. Talking about the different degrees, what a square actually is. When planets are at a 90 position to each other.
We're going to talk about all the different, systems actually with Jade later on.
Yes. Very exciting.
Yes. So this is a different system probably, and he's going to talk about that also. And so I'm very excited about this calendar. Not because I think that it's a good calendar. but astrology to me, it's kind of the basics. I really don't. I mean, I really would love to have.
It's really like a science. Really like a science.
Really,
it's really. It's yeah. It's really it's like a science. It's very exact. It's very detailed. And it's people who don't really get it. They're kind of. I think they don't really understand how precise it needs to be in order to work.
Well, I have do you remember Isabel from? We did a couple of shows with her. She's an astrologer also, and what she does with her tarot readings is that she combines tarot with astrology, which is absolutely amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Wow.
And I don't know if anybody else does this, but she does it. And Cynthia, remember Cynthia Cassandra? She was here being our Indigo for some days, 2 days on show, and she was the moderator for the chat room, and she's an astrologer also. She took a couple of courses during several years, and she studied a lot, and she did what we had in Witch Talk a little bit, which was the we were still in Block Talk Radio, the Moon Minute, remember?
Yes,
we had the Moon Minute with her, and she did that Moon Minute to us, and it's very interesting. So yes, but I don't, I can't, I know the basics, but I really don't know anything about it, and I really am fascinated by it because I think that it's exactly what you say. It's science. It's precise. It's very precise.
Yeah, and I think that this would help, especially I think it's more easy for me to look at a calendar, for example, and see what those aspects are for that day, and then I can look it up from there. Like for example, if I'm planning any kind of event in my life, and I have control over that, I can look at the date, what the aspects are, and see if that's actually more favorable for me to change the date. There's on page 35 lunar activity and planning chart. So it takes the different activities that you may be doing, like for example cutting your hair. So if you want to cut your hair for growth, it's best to do it at the quarter when the moon is in Pisces or Cancer. Or if you cut your hair for thickness, first or second quarter for Taurus or Leo. I mean that's pretty interesting. I don't know if that. I've never cut my hair according to the moon before.
I know, but I would be a little bit more interested in should I buy my house? When should I buy my house? When is it a good time to actually look for a house? Or you know what I mean?
There's one for buying a home. In the first quarter of Leo or Cancer. So the moon's going to be in Taurus, Leo or Cancer in the first quarter. But there's one that I don't really understand that says start a new job. And for the first or second quarter of Taurus, Leo or Aquarius. Now I don't really have much control over that. If I'm starting a new job.
No. I'm sorry, I can't really start that time.
Yeah, the moon's not in the right order. It's in the fourth quarter. I'm sorry. I have to wait a little bit.
It's my religion.
Yeah. And then right next to it, there's also a chart for common produce, and also the lunar aspects that it should be in. Most likely to get the best bountiful produce out of it. If you're doing any kind of lunar gardening, that's also really. I like having the chart.
So tell me, how many cauldrons do we have here on this Llewellyn calendar, astrological calendar?
I think I'll give it 4 cauldrons. It's good. It fills everything that I would want out of an astrological calendar.
Yeah.
So that being said, there are some things that I would change. For example, the major thing is get rid of the horoscopes. I just stand them. I've never really taken much stock in my rewarding or challenging or lucky days. I really appreciate all of the detail that goes into each date on the calendar. Really appreciate that. And I love the articles in the back that describe, what the transits mean, what the aspects are. There's also, for those who don't really know what the astrological houses are, there's a really good descriptor of each of the houses. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, the first house, to think of this in your chart, think of your chart as one big house, and the houses as rooms. And the first house is your symbolic front door. So that's what people see when they first meet you.
Yeah.
Is your first house. So I find that really interesting.
You know that I'm very excited because Jade is going to be doing my chart.
I know. I'm really curious.
And we're going to talk about these things, and then related to his wonderful book that about Asterian Astrology. So it will be a very nice thing. I'm just kind of very, very excited. But so 4 cauldrons.
Yes, 4 cauldrons. It's good. It's really good, actually. And, you know, there's not too many calendars that are really this well thought out, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are other astrological calendars, there are other lunar calendars, but when it comes to explaining everything in its detail, it's really fantastic. And the artwork, you just can't beat it. It's just really gorgeous.
Really beautiful. Beautiful.
So, yeah, 4 calendars, or 4 cauldrons. 4 calendars.
That's great.
Good.
You said 4 calendars?
I said 4 calendars.
That's very good. Very good. Very good. For some reason today, I don't know why, but every time I smile, my teeth become like dark. I don't know. But you know, it's an effect of I think of the chroma key. See? It looks like I have like rotten teeth. I don't, but I know it's very funny. Okay, so so 4 cauldrons for this fantastic calendar from Llewellyn, right?
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for this wonderful review, and you'll be on the chat room, right?
I will be. I'm very excited to hear the rest of the show.
Yes. Yes. Oh, we will have fun. Don't worry. And controversy and everything else.
I know. Hearing the pre-show, I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Just from the pre-show, hearing Jade talk, I'm very excited for the show.
We always have a pre-show. People don't know this, but we really have like this conversation with the author.
And we usually have a post-show. So.
Yes, and we have a post-show also, so it's kind of like Hollywood. We have the before party, and then we have the after party. So it's kind of like a very Hollywood-esque kind of thing. Okay, so thank you so much, Indigo, and we'll talk to you next week, right?
Sounds fantastic, yep.
Yes.
You will.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Bye.
I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye. And that was Indigo Estrella with this fantastic new calendar of Llewellyn. And now we're going to go for the introduction of our guest. And we'll introduce him and then we'll begin to talk to him. So here we go. Jade Sol Luna is a devotee of the Mother Goddess Hecate, goddess of mysticism and astrology. As a young man in his early 20s, Luna went to India to find God and ended up at the feet of Avatar Meher Baba. He also was the first American to train with Aghora teacher Kal Babaji in Khajuraho, India. Dedicated to learning, Luna was guided by his teacher on how to reconstruct ancient spirituality from the West. After years of spiritual practice and extensive research, Jade Sol Luna recreated the oldest system of astrology in the world, as formed Asterian Astrology. Jade Sol Luna stands out in the spiritual community due to his path of overcoming fear in order to have lasting peace. His phrases like, "It is not your light that reincarnates, it is your dark. If you do not become conscious of your shadow self, you will reincarnate until you do. And you cannot have peace if fear is present. Remove fear and peace is everlasting," reveals how Luna is one of the most unique spiritual teachers today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on Witch Talk, Jade Sol Luna. Wow. Welcome, Jade Sol Luna.
Hi, Kerrigan. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with you and talk to you about your book, about your CD. I mean, we have so much things to talk about. It's a whole. It's great. It's great. So, how are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm going to do my best not to be a Debbie Downer from the intro to your show. But it's the subject of astrology is something I've been pursuing since I was 18.
Yes.
And I've spent a tremendous amount of time and energy getting to the core of what astrology is and what it's all about. And the misconceptions of astrology and how it's used are profound. And so I'm making a very active statement by creating a mission that goes right into the core of what astrology is.
Now tell me one thing. You've listened to us talking about this Llewellyn calendar, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, and so what? Tell me your opinion about it. I'm kind of poking you here. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah, no, you're more than welcome to. It's all astronomically totally incorrect, and it's very difficult because first and foremost, you know, I grew up a Western astrologer, and I went to an astronomy school in Phoenix, Arizona, when I was 18. And now, meanwhile, I started putting charts together when I was 14. My mom was interested in astrology, so I was giving readings my last year in high school. But I wanted to become an astronomer because of the ancient references to astronomers and astrologers being the same thing. These two sciences, astrology and astronomy, have only been separated since the dilemma we're in now started to surface. But I went to school to be an astronomer. And within the first week, my teacher said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I already am an astrologer. And he goes, oh, my God, you're going to hate this class. And I said, why? And he said, well, you're going to realize that it's all astronomically totally incorrect. And I got very, very upset. So I've been through the whole process and the frustration that people will go through when I bring up, you know, you're not the sign that you think that you are. I've been through that myself. So anyways, my astronomer later, my teacher told me that if I really wanted to learn astrology properly, I had to go to India. And that was the first hint for me to go to India. I went to India later that year. My first trip to India, I was 20 years old. And ended up stumbling into Hindu astrology and then continued my study. And one thing that's been very specific about me since birth is I just have that nature where I question everything. And questioning as opposed to just accepting what I've been given has led me right into possibly one of the most profound truths in astrology ever, which is what I'm bringing to people. You know, what I have to offer in the world of astrology not only disrupts all of Western astrology, it disrupts Eastern astrology as well. And I hope we can get into some of that today. But I'll say it like this. This Earth wobbles. It does not have an even rotation. Ptolemy was an astronomer that pretty much laid down the foundation for what we call Western tropical astrology. Ptolemy didn't actually calculate the wobble when he laid down the foundation for what is now tropical astrology. And so about 500 years ago, astronomy recognized the Earth's wobble and started making their calculations with the wobble, which oddly enough was what the Egyptians did, what the Sumerians had done, and also what a great astronomer named Hipparchus found. So they just recorrected astronomy and astrology at that time. It was about 500 years ago. But so anyways, in short, astronomy realized that this wobble affected the relationship with the Earth and the constellations. So astrology in that time didn't want to make the adjustments as well. I'm not going to say astrology on this planet, because many civilizations adjusted their horoscopes to fit that wobble. The only one that did not was the one we use here in the West. So when astronomy got rid of the model of Ptolemy because it was inaccurate, astrology in the West did not. So hence, astrology here is off by 23 degrees. Wow. And I say that because all other cultures, I mean, you get Chinese astrology, you have Hindu astrology, all of them have already adjusted hundreds of years ago to fit that wobble of the Earth's axis. And also, by the way, the zodiac follows that wobble perfectly, which means it's an astronomical fact that if you were to pull out a telescope tonight and look at the little sliver of this moon, which is just getting ready to be a new moon here, if you were to look at that little sliver of the moon, you would see with your own eyes that today it's not in Virgo, it's in Leo. You could actually see it with your own eyes. So that wobble, the zodiac follows that wobble perfectly. The sidereal zodiac, which is used throughout the East, was always used to calculate the positions of the constellations. Always. The tropical zodiac, which I'm not going to get into full detail now, was used to calculate something else. And this is where the dilemma is that we're in now. But yeah, no, the system that we use here is astronomically incorrect. So when people are planning rituals on certain days, they're doing them incorrectly. And they're doing them on wrong days. When people are doing a ritual to the Scorpion full moon, it's a Libra full moon. So I take this very, very serious because alignment and being aligned is one of the great goals of spirituality. It's one of the great goals of spirituality to align with who and what you are as an individual. And we are using a system that is astronomically incorrect here. So I believe when people shift and move back with that wobble, they end up aligning with their true inner and higher self. So people are going to have to learn astrology.
What is, in your opinion, why are we in this error for so many? Why do we insist in being in this ignorance kind of? What do you think that it's the reason for that?
Well, you know, tropical astrologies try to make a case repeatedly about, and you can go Google what I'm saying here. Western astrology is saying, okay, we know we don't follow the stars, we follow the seasons. Well, that's astronomically incorrect as well, because the seasons are different on this planet. Unless you have a different zodiac for every location has a different season, you can't use northern hemisphere seasons for the whole globe and then call that astrology. Now, again, the tropical zodiac, like I said a second ago, has a purpose, and it has an enormously valid purpose. It's just not calculating the constellations. It's about calculating something else, which I hate saying it. I can't say what the tropical zodiac is used for right now because I'm in the process of making a big campaign about this. I'm going to be opened up to huge debates with very well-known astrologers at this time, and I can't unleash what the tropical zodiac was used for. But I found full evidence of how the tropical zodiac was meant to be used, and it was not meant to be used for the calculation of the constellations. It was used for the calculation of something else, and this is a big error. But nevertheless, yeah, so Western astrology is saying we don't follow the stars, we know that, but we're following the seasons. And in my case, you know, astrology means science of the stars. It does not mean science of the seasons. And I'm saying if you want to call it, you know, something seasonal, give it another name and let astrology be the science of the stars. But like tonight, Western astrology has the moon calculated in Virgo, and you could go out with your own eyes, if you knew where the constellation Leo was and what it looked like, and see it with your own eyes. It's in Leo tonight. It's not in Virgo.
Now, we have a question. Well, actually, we have two questions from the chat room. The first one is the Kabbalah incorrect as well, then? Here we go.
Not a single science that uses Western astrology is astronomically correct. Not one. And because of this lack of calculation of the Earth's wobble, people are using incorrect signs. And you know what's so frustrating for me? You know, I had this lady, I gave a reading earlier today. I had this lady come in, and I'm just going to be honest as possible. She's sitting in front of me, and she's like, okay, you're telling me I'm a Pisces when I know for a fact I'm an Aries. And I said, well, what makes you think you're an Aries? And her response was, well, I love fire. And I said, well, what do you do for a living? And she said, I'm a nurse. I said, you're a Pisces. Not only did she look like a Pisces, but she acted like a Pisces. And here she is with this giant tattoo of Aries on the side of her arm. And so
oh my God.
These signs, now here's the interesting thing, and I'll give you this much about the tropical zodiac. The tropical zodiac was used to calculate the evolution of the signs, because what a Cancer used to be in ancient time and what a Cancer is right now are not the same thing. So my job is not going to be just correcting and saying, well, you're not the sign that you think that you are. I'm also going to be giving people a great evolution of what the signs are now. Like what an Aries is now. Like I'm an Aries. I was born May 8th. They would call me a Taurus, but it's a fact that when I was born, the sun was in the constellation Aries. But Aries has evolved from what it used to be. And the tropical zodiac would calculate the evolution of the constellations. I'll be explaining this all later, next year actually. I'll be explaining this later. But an Aries is different now than it used to be. It's not the selfish, self-centered Aries that we talk about now. The Aries now has Taurus traits because of the evolution of the tropical zodiac. And so this is something that's a big mystery, and cultures of ancient time would talk exactly the way I'm right now. Egypt is the center of astronomy. They built pyramids to calculate this wobble that I'm talking about. That's how big of a deal this wobble was. They erected structures that took hundreds and hundreds of years just to make sure they calculated this wobble perfectly. So did the Sumerians, and so did the ancient Greeks. The fact that we ignore that in astrology today is absolute ignorance. And I have no problem making a campaign out of this because, really speaking, when it comes to the scientific facts of what I'm going to be bringing forth through Egypt and what they've done in Greece, this is a flawless campaign. It's not even really, you know, people are going to contact other people and say, oh my God, this guy Jade Luna, he said that, you know, the zodiac is wrong. And then a person will say, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. This is going to be factual information because I'm making a big campaign out about it, and I've been debated for the last year, and I'm going to come off like an Aries here. I haven't lost a debate on this because the evidence of our ancient cultures and the work they went through to calculate this Earth's wobble was profound, and to ignore that in our modern astrology world, when even India itself decided to calculate that wobble, it's total ignorance.
Now, tell me one thing. On all of this debate and all of this campaign that you've done so far, is there anyone that actually was an astrologer and actually kind of thought, well, you might have a point there. You know what I mean? Kind of someone that kind of actually was, you know, turned into kind of agreeing with you and kind of be very furious about all of these years that I spent thinking that this wobble actually didn't exist, or, you know what I mean? So,
well,
did anybody...
It's a great question, Kerrigan. I actually really like that question. I'll tell you why. There are, now, hence, I'll make this as, as real as possible. I've been in New York for the last 4 years trying to get a big publishing deal about making the system public. And you would be surprised. I've sat down, I'm not going to mention publishing companies' names because some of them I'm still possibly going to end up working with in this process. But in my first round of going to New York, 2 of the publishing companies brought in their big, well-known astrologers to have a debate with me. And it didn't go very well for their astrologers. Of course. One of them is, well, I will tell you, I asked one of them, I said, could you please bring Robert Hand into this? Robert Hand, I had full trust of knowing that this guy had a deep astronomical background. Yeah. Then I got an email stating that he made the transition a long, long time ago. He ended up creating right extension and declination to try to calculate this wobble we're talking about. Any astrologer that goes beyond the world that we know in the West and starts to really learn astronomy and ancient astrology is not only going to make this transition, some of them already have, and can't say it publicly because of how much money they lose. The only reason why at this point that this has not become some global deal, because like I said, I have an amazing literary agent right now, which we are going out and we are going to make this another attempt at this here relatively soon. But because I cost publishing companies a serious amount of money, whoever takes me on, and they, let's just say as an example, let's use HarperCollins. They still make an average of $600,000 a year from Linda Goodman. I've already been in that office to prove my case, and I proved it quite well. The problem was not of, oh my God, he's right, let's take him on. It was like, what's going to happen if we take him on? What's going to happen? Yeah. It means we already make $600,000 a year still from like Linda Goodman. If we bring him on, we risk losing that. This is now a matter of politics. I can't tell you how many people have already sided with this. even in the entertainment business. I mean, I've had the fortune of working here in Hollywood with celebrities, and I can't tell you how many of them are out there have already made these adjustments. And it's just a matter of time. We have to find a very soft way to approach the public with this and make people understand without making people just rebel against it, which is what people do. You know, there's several stages. First, they rebel against it entirely without even questioning it. It's like, oh, no, he's wrong, because I am definitely 100% the sign that I was born under, which I can't tell you how many people are actually the sign before, and they sit in front of me and I can tell. One of my really close friends here, he's in a really famous punk band, and he's their drummer, and he's born August 5th. The guy spends his whole day in his home playing video games. He's the most introverted person you've ever meet. But he's obsessed with the idea that he's a Leo, just because, well, the Leo is a very expansive and cool sign to be. But his wife, who's also a friend of mine, says, the guy's a Cancer. Not only can I not get him out of the house, he's the most introverted person I've ever met. People are these signs before. Like I look at you, but I don't look at the 12 signs as being the most important. I look at the ancient 27 lunar zodiac calendar as being the most significant. It's far more significant than the 12 signs. So the 12 signs don't mean as much to me as the ancient 27 do.
This is an amazing thing. Jade, I just can't thank you enough to come on the show, because this has to be said. This has to be out there. And I think that, you know, if we have 90,000 people listening to us on the show, why not? You know what I mean? Why not? So
why not?
One of the things that I wanted to actually ask you is, it's here, you know, you have some people that kind of actually are astrologers in the chat room. One of them is from Portugal. It's a friend of mine, Cynthia Cassandra, and she's finding it very interesting. She's really kind of like, this is very interesting. And then there is Master Nestor, which is a ceremonial magician, and he's kind of like a little bit confused. He says, I don't do astrology really, so I'm confused about who uses what. Can you just kind of like clarify that for us?
At the present moment on this planet, there are two zodiacs being used. One of them is in the West, and it's called the tropical zodiac. And it's the system that I'm saying is astronomically off the star constellations. Then there is an Eastern, which this is a whole other dilemma. We call it Eastern, but it's not. There's an Eastern zodiac that is what we call sidereal, that actually uses the star constellations. The tropical zodiac claims now, and the astrologers in it agree, that they don't follow the stars, but they do follow the seasons. I'm disproving that as well, and they don't follow the seasons. So the tropical zodiac is what's used in the West, the sidereal zodiac is used in the East, but the ancient Greeks mastered the sidereal zodiac, so I don't like calling it an Eastern zodiac.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know if that helps, because
I think
astrology is a complicated science, but we use in the West what we call the tropical system. The East uses the actual star constellations, and it's called the sidereal.
Now, this is very, very, very interesting, but we have to refer this to your fantastic book, because it's really kind of like a tool, I think, and this is volume 1, mind you. So the people out there, this is volume 1, and I'm going to show the book so that people can actually see it online. This is volume 1. It's called Asterian Astrology: The Lost System of Alexandrian the Great. Now, now explain to us what is Asterian astrology, and how did you come up with this? And obviously you talked about it a little bit already, but you know, tell us all about this.
Well, oddly enough, Asterian Astrology was originally going to be called Hecate 3. It was going to be my third book on Hecate, because I'm a devotee, as most people know. I have a hard time doing anything spiritual outside of this woman. My head is at her feet, so to speak. So as I was in India studying this lost system of Alexander the Great, I read several references to the priests of Alexander the Great would channel Asteria for the system that I'm bringing out here. Now, let me kind of explain a little bit of, you know, what happened and why I put this system together. Asterian Astrology. I've spent a lot of my life in India. I spent, you know, my 20s living in India with various saints and masters and so forth. And it is always been said in India that their great saints have channeled astrology. It's always been said that. Mm-hmm. I read a reference when I was with Kal Babaji in Khajuraho, India. I just, was in a library, and I read a reference saying that Jyotish, which is now called Hindu astrology, was actually brought to them by Alexander the Great. That's a very controversial statement because India believes that their great saints have channeled the system for over 40,000 years. So, and then I read this one statement saying, okay, Alexander the Great is documented in this book of bringing India their system. So I want to study that more. There was a book in India called the Yavana Jataka. The Yavana Jataka, well, in ancient India, they called the Greeks Yavanas. Yavana Jataka means the speaking of the Greeks. So I found that the first book that was responsible for creating Hindu astrology was called the Speaking of the Greeks, the Yavana Jataka. So here I'm realizing that the Greeks had a profound impact on what is now astrology in India. So I went to great lengths to get the Yavana Jataka and read it, which changed everything. Here I am also sitting with great, powerful gurus in India, and I'm reading something that's contradicting what I'm being told. And again, I'm the type of person that I call it my Aries nature that questions everything. I have to go to the root of everything. It's just my nature. And so I get the Yavana Jataka and I start reading it and realize that I'm looking at the core of astrology. And also what a lot of people don't know is in the Hellenistic period. The Hellenistic period was really Greece and India. It really was. I mean, Alexander the Great created this incredible bridge between India and Greece, and they became very, very close for about 300 years after Alexander the Great's passing. And Alexander the Great did bring India this book, the Yavana Jataka, in the Hellenistic period. And that system spread for 300 years and became the astrology system throughout the whole planet, the system I've now put back together. Mm-hmm. And so I just started putting the book together. It became this big awakening experience for me. And I started transcribing it from Sanskrit back to its original Roman Greco format, which is what Asterian astrology is. It is the way the ancient Romans and Greeks viewed astrology. So the book is the actual vibration of what it was 2,300 years ago. So when you're picking up Asterian astrology, I was the first person to take the Yavana Jataka, which was the book that India thrives off of, and move it back to its original Roman Greco format, and then give it back to the Greeks and to Alexander the Great. Now their priest, Alexander the Great's priest, claimed that they channeled this system from Asteria herself, which I'm a firm believer of, and Asteria is Hecate's mother.
Yes.
So this was fun for me. I was staying in the family lineage.
That's very interesting. Now tell me one thing. You have my chart, right?
I do.
So, everybody says that I'm a Taurus, and you're a Taurus. You're very stubborn. You're a Taurus. You have Taurus in you. You have you really go for things, and you're a go-getter, and all of that stuff. Which is kind of like, when people say this, I don't know how much of that is an adaptation of you. You know what I mean? Oh, okay, I have to be like a Taurus, so I kind of like have to go and, or I'm lazy, okay, let me just be lazy.
You are expressing also the qualities of an Aries. Aries individuals are very active, and one thing about the evolution of the sign Aries is, actually it's great at entertaining. It's one of its greatest traits. All fire signs end up entertainers. See, Earth signs, the Taurus, what you were explaining about people say you're a Taurus, so you're a go-getter. No, Taurus is known to be very conservative and very practical, actually. Mm-hmm. And see, I thought from what you were explaining, a Taurus is a go-getter. It's this. I see that as being an Aries, not a Taurus. I find in this system, when you're dealing with a Taurus, you are dealing with someone that's very practical and very conservative in their nature. Where Aries are not. We're not practical. We're not conservative. We're about expression and expressing ourselves in ways that are new, unique, and vibrant. And even everything you're doing in my world is, I would consider you an Aries 100%. I would consider you to be not only just an Aries, but a Dioscuri. A Dioscuri is a type of Aries. And Dioscuri individuals tend to be on the eccentric side. It's a very eccentric sign, and it's known to not only be highly intelligent, it has a responsibility to shed light to new subjects and bring in new vibrations. It's a very powerful sign. But you'd be considered a conscious Aries, but subconscious, you are an Aegean, which is an Aquarius. When I'm looking at a chart, I look at the sun to see the consciousness, the conscious mind of the individual, and the moon to see the subconscious mind of that person. Like as an example, I use Tiger Woods as a perfect example. His sun is in a position or in what I call a palace that is very serene and very calm and very cool. So his exterior or his conscious self comes off being very calm. But then you look at his moon, and his moon is under one of the most disturbed of all the 27 signs that we use. So his inner nature, his subconscious mind, would be very turbulent. So I look at the sun to see the way someone expresses themselves and to see their conscious energy. And I look for the moon to see who they are subconsciously and what they're working out. But you're an Aegean, and an Aegean is connected to the mystical realms. If you pull out my book and you read the star Aegean, which is inside of Aquarius, I give it to the subjects of mysticism, astrology, and in ancient time, you would have actually been taught the secrets of astrology because you had an Aegean moon and a Dioscuri sun. A Dioscuri sun deals a lot with expressing healing energies creatively. And that's one of the great gifts of Dioscuri as a sun. It expresses energy creatively, where Aegean is very mystical. And that means on inside and out, you carry a lot of mystical energies in your chart.
That's very interesting.
Now, if you and I were giving a reading, there's a whole thing I do in giving a reading. There are 4 planets that rule over someone's destiny. And when I give someone a personal reading, we go right into that. We outline it through the form of an animal totem. And there's an animal totem. There are 4 animals that rule over someone's inner makeup. And we outline those in a reading. And then we talk about your sun and your moon like we just did.
Now, where can people get readings from you?
You know, honestly, Astrology Sphere is my website that is easiest to get a hold of me. And, you know, you can contact me via email at Astrology Sphere, and there's a number that you can contact me to set up readings. It takes a while to get in to see me for a reading.
You do have to see the person, right?
No, absolutely not. I have more clients in New York than anywhere else. And so, no, I do more phone readings than I do in-person readings. Actually, I'd say it's evened out now. I have a lot more here in Los Angeles.
So let's talk about your book. You just gave an example of my chart and but how can someone, for instance, like me or someone that really are not really versed just in the basics of astrology, can they kind of figure this out or not?
Well, this is the great thing about the next stage of my work, which I will be finding out in the next 3 or 4 months whether this system ends up going mainstream or not. My problem that I've had with publishing companies in the past, which is no longer officially a problem, is that I'm too advanced of a writer to make this system accessible to the masses. And that's been the problem I've been running into personally. So we ended up hiring an incredible writer for this. She already has a published book, and she's very well known in the literary world, have an incredible agent for this. But my problem has been just what you said, making this something that is accessible to the masses, which is now officially going to be done. As a matter of fact, we're making a very, the next book that comes out is going to be a fun book. But it's really going to be pushed to the masses. So people will be opening up and reading that they are the sign right before. But these signs, like I said, have evolved incredibly over 2,000 years. So my job is not making people feel like they were demoted by being another sign, but make them feel like they're being promoted by being a sign before, which has officially been done. And I now have found a way, which I can't express right now, but I've now found a way to make people want to make this change. And that has been a big problem, is people just don't want to. I mean, they're comfortable being that sign. Whether it's them or not doesn't even really matter to a lot of people. It's the way, it's a lingo we have. It's a lingo we have. Oh, that guy, he's an ass, he's a Leo. And, and this, we like talking this way without it legitimately being accurate or not. And right now that social conversation has to be something that we can work with and make it fun, as opposed to making like you've been wrong the whole time. And that's
I understand that it's not about you're wrong, I'm right, but it's about what is really actually correct, So it's not really about, you were wrong and all of that, but it's really not that confrontational, but it's really kind of like saying, you know what, this is, take a look at this and see if you can actually take it, because that's when I think when people block that, they cease to evolve.
It's true.
That's sad. That's sad.
And that's also the point of astrology, which is the point I've been trying to make. Yeah. Astrology is you're only on this planet for one purpose, and that is to realize who you are. You're not here for any other reason. All elements of suffering a human being goes through, every challenge I go through, every point of happiness, this earth has a job to help you realize who you are. And astrology is that science that helps you align with who you are. And so it's got to be right. And I'm sorry, the system everybody's using out there, it is incorrect. So people are not aligning with themselves properly. Like you are in Aries. If you pulled out a telescope the day of your birth and looked up in the sky, you would have saw yourself, you were born when the sun was in Aries. Now here's the tricky thing about you, is you do have a Taurus rising. So you still are going to have some Taurus traits, but your higher self is what I call a Dioscuri. And Dioscuri, when you see those commercials with one person having an angel on their shoulder and the other person having a devil, those two angels are the Dioscuri. And so Dioscuri has a responsibility to harmonize light and dark. Yes.
So is that why I really kind of think that they have to coexist? They actually have to kind of, there has to be a balance in there.
Because
I don't dismiss dark at all.
That is,
you know what I mean?
That's what you are expressing, Dioscuri. Yeah. Dioscuri is light and dark. Now the sign right after, or the palace right after Dioscuri, is ruled over by Hades, the god of the underworld. And I'm a different type of Aries than you are. I am an Idoneus, which is a form of Hades. You are a Dioscuri, which is the twins of light and dark.
Yes.
And so I don't view every Aries as being the same type of Aries. And we have 3 types of Aries, 3 types of Tauruses. These 27 are the main elements of the ancient zodiac. And I'll tell you why I'm going to push the lunar zodiac, because in ancient time, the lunar zodiac was used in these 27 more than the 12. As we waned out feminine divinity, we waned out that zodiac and replaced it with the 12 signs of the masculine zodiac. And so this is where the other dilemma comes in, and where I'm really going to be trying to make a point. Hey, let's give the mother back her system. Let's do it. And meanwhile, let's also keep the 12, and let's harmonize our masculine and feminine for the first time ever, because Egypt was very based upon the feminine zodiac. The solar zodiac wasn't as important to them. So things have evolved and changed, and now it's time to harmonize these two forces together.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Volume 1, so can we expect Volume 2? No? Maybe not.
Like I said, there's very interesting things going on in my life right at this present moment. And there is actual legitimate possibility that this system is going to go. And it's going to be the main system that everybody uses. And I'm going to have a lot of work ahead of me. Yeah, I originally had
Volume 2.
My mind to do, Asterian Astrology Volume number 2. Right now, there's very significant things going on that could make me go more into making this system more simplistic and less complicated than going into Volume number 2, making it more complicated. Number 2 was supposed to be about the animal totems.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, I thought I'd lost you there just for a minute because my computer went down, so that's why I stopped talking there. But Asterian Astrology Volume number 2 is more complex, and it deals with the various aspects of the chart, and it's a very intense book. But my feeling is I might be going into trying to make the system more mainstream and accessible and fun, as opposed to more complicated at this point.
So that people can actually, take this and do it themselves, or, with a little bit of study. Now, what would you think that would be a good background for this? Where should we go to? I mean, is this book sufficient, or can we go somewhere else? And what would you think that it's somewhere else?
So, not to interrupt you, sorry about that.
Go ahead.
I will also tell you, Asterian Astrology I'm not 100% in agreement with what all those 27 signs are. And I made a point not to change a single word of the priests of Alexander the Great in translating this book. I didn't want to emphasize my opinion about their work. I wanted just to present it the way that it is. Now, I've never had another job in my life. I've been an astrologer since I was 19 years old. I have a very different belief about some of these signs, and I've seen it. You know, I'll give an example. Bacchus, which is a Leo in this particular system, it's the sign of marriage, and it's a sign of unity, and it's a sign of festives and parties and the fun events that go on during a wedding. And so in ancient time, it was the sign of marriage. Now in modern time, I see Bacchus people to be very, very different, and I see a lot of them even choose not to marry, where then the sign wants to emphasize more or less union with the beloved than union with another person, where things have evolved since then. So the book that I want to release that's more accessible might even have some differences in opinion than this book.
Which would be your own vision of the evolution of these
signs. Yes, many, many years of following the system and watching it work. I find, like I did say, the tropical zodiac that is responsible for the Western zodiac has a valid purpose, and I'll explain in a future date. The tropical zodiac and the sidereal zodiac work together as one, and they evolve. So these signs have all evolved also since the time of Alexander the Great. And so, again, there's a very different meaning, and my point is to make astrology accessible, but to help it also become more, not only scientific, but a bigger part of people's lives. You know, I spent my 20s living where astrology is the core of their culture.
It is.
And the reason why is because science there verifies it. Their astronomers verify their system. So they have more of a masculine influence in their world with astrology because science is so behind it, where here, obviously, astronomers hate astrologers because they know the system they're using is completely astronomically incorrect. I want science to validate this system so it can spread to the masses and also to men as well. Because, you know, as we all know, the masculine form, I think, is far underneath the feminine form at this time spiritually. And I think that because the rational aspect of astrology and the rational aspect of what we call the masculine force out there has been this separation between metaphysics and science has been so powerful here. I think once they're unified, there's going to be more of an interest in men in the West getting involved in these types of subjects.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the general public, not people like us. I'm not talking about you. No. I'm talking about the general world out there of the basic average man doesn't have an interest in the science because on some level, I think he feels that it's not verified by the world of science, where I'm trying to change that part as well.
That's great. That's great. Now, this is a wonderful book. Where can people buy this? I mean, this is Amazon, right?
You can grab it on Amazon. It's at some locations at Barnes & Noble. It's in LA and in New York. It's at some Barnes & Noble. But Amazon is the most accessible place to get it.
This is great. It's a wonderful book, and it really is important for people to read it. And I really do recommend every single astrologer out there to read this book and really, you know, kind of take it in. Because, you know, sometimes when we're stubborn enough to say, no, it can't be, we are really kind of not evolving. We're not going towards life. So I think that, you know, that's what it is. Now, let's talk about your chants, which I just love, by the way. I'm a fan.
Thank you, because you're in my iPod as well. And I listen to your music. And just being honest, I'm not always a big fan of Wiccan music. I like a lot of it. I'm not a fan of all of it. I love chanting. You know, I grew up in India, so chanting is a very, very big deal to me.
It is a big deal, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And also pronunciation of these deities' names is also a very, very big deal to me. But you're in my iPod. I listen to your music all the time.
That's great. I just love that. Yeah. Okay, and I listen to yours all.
It's very appealing to me, and I found it quite fascinating when I bumped into you by somebody else. I can't remember who it was, but someone said, "Well, have you heard his music?" Someone gave me a couple Wiccan CDs, and I said, you know, they're good, but it's just not really my, you know, Enya and things like that I like, but it's not my thing. Yeah. I like ritual music. That's just my taste.
Yes.
And your music was ritual music, and I really enjoyed it.
I thought that, you know, I was not, I mean, I thought that I had you on my iPod, but you know, you have me in your iPod also. So this is, when I listen to you, it reminds me, I can see, I don't know how to explain this, because I do chanting also. I almost can see beyond what art is put it out to the people, right? To people to enjoy it, to interpret it, but I can see the spring where it came from. You know what I mean? When I listen to you, yeah. I know where it, you know what I mean? I almost kind of see where it sprang. You know what I mean? So it's kind of different. Yeah. I'm not looking at the body of art that you know you just have here that we listen to, but I actually am seeing a little bit further than that, which is very interesting, because I think it's because I do chants also that I can see that, or not, I don't know, but it's really I've heard about you through Sarita and through her Sacred Fires, because you were one of the people that had music on her videos. And,
that's right.
You know, that she did, yeah. And me too. So, you know, she asked, you know, my Hecate in and all of that. And it's so amazing. When I listened to you for the first time, I almost like, oh my God, it's the same genre. You know, it's kind of like, I didn't know that there were another person, you know, doing
I had exact thoughts about yours. I'm like, oh my God, and thank God it was good. I'm not saying this referring to your music, because, you know, I really enjoy other people's stuff, you know, and when you're in a world like mine where, you know, it's about my stuff all the time. I'm in recording studios, writing books, I'm doing all that stuff. I'd like to take a break out of myself and kind of delve into someone else's world. And a lot of Wiccan music, I really haven't been able to have that experience. Where with yours, I was able to dive into it, and because I related to it, so I totally understand that.
It's really strange. It's really strange when it's almost like looking at you know, another kind of like a family member. You know what I mean? It's like, ooh, that's the brother that, well, you know. So
that's the feeling I had too, and you know, and I've had that feeling. You know, unfortunately, I've had that feeling with a few people that didn't share the same feeling back. And so,
really,
Wicca's been a little bit complicated for me, because you know, I was, you know, a Hindu Aghora for. Yes. Oh, geez, almost 13 years. And yes. I would probably be living in India if it wasn't for Kal Babaji saying, Jade, you know, you were born in a Western body, go figure it out. and those words, I was sitting in India with a human skull in my hand, with a dot on the middle of my forehead, thinking I was going to be living in India, and it crushed me. I mean, there was nothing that had devastated me in this life at the level of being told that I had to go be a Westerner now. And so I took everything and all this heavy, intense Kali worship, and he said, turn it into a Western mission. And I just found it to be complete agony for about a year, until I did what I call goddess dating, because he told me to find the equivalent to Kali. And he goes, just find the Western equivalent and just merge everything you've learned here into a Western mission. And I went goddess dating, where I actively went out there and started worshiping these various goddesses. You know, I started with the Greek goddess Artemis, and then I went on to Isis, and I went on, and Hecate was the last on the list for me. And the night that I would create these full pujas or worships around this goddess, because everything I learned in India and all these chants I would merge into. I had already learned Latin in India out of pure boredom, believe it or not. I just started learning Latin out of boredom, because there was times where we had to be silent and we couldn't say anything for weeks. And we couldn't speak for weeks, so I'd learn. That's what I would do.
Wow.
And so I learned Latin, so I started formulating these big worships in Latin as opposed to Sanskrit when all these transitions happened. I worshipped Diana, Isis, and then Hecate was there at the tail end, and the night that I worshipped her was so profound, it overshadowed anything I ever experienced in India. And right there and then, I realized I was dealing with the force that was the strongest in myself. And it was just complete, utter alignment what took place that night and went on even to this day. So my music is a way of trying to honor her and devote and show her my love for her because of, you know, just spiritually what she's done for me. So chanting, chanting, the two things that I take very serious are astrology and chanting. I mean, I'm very big into pronunciation. You know, I said to you earlier in the show, I don't like it when I hear Hecate pronounced Hecate because it means totally two different things.
No, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that because there are people who actually say Hecate, and then there are people who say Hecate. And you said to me on the pre-show, I like this thing, a pre-show. It's very fancy. The Hecate, it's the correct way of pronunciation of the name of the goddess, and I totally agree with you. This is a big battle to me because people just say the names of the gods, and it's just something that I don't know where I got this. But to me, it's very important to be the correct way. And because, you know, sounds are vibrations of energy that can propel, you know, and cause, you know, change in invocations and everything. So if you're, if you're saying Jade Sol Luna, it will not be the same as Jade Sol Luna. So you probably, if I call you Jade, you would not even look at me. So I think that it's very
especially,
important.
You know, as I said in one of my other shows, we're dealing with, you know, we're dealing with a woman, and you don't ever want to call a woman another name. You just don't want to do that. And so, you know, especially, and like there was you don't do it. And when I was in India, I've been on several radio shows in India. You wouldn't ever be considered. You would never be taken serious if you went on a show in India and said Shiva as opposed to Shiva. You know, they would go, "What are you talking about?" And so these things are a very big deal. And what happens, and this is the problem with astrology too, and this is what's happened with just metaphysics in general, people just believe what they're told. And you know, if you look at this planet right now, there are more problems being caused by people who believe everything they hear or read than people who question. People who question aren't creating the problems on this planet. It's people who believe everything they hear from another person. Even in my world, I'm telling you, I'm going to tell you, I can't tell you how many people go to investigate me and what I'm saying about astrology and end up coming to the same conclusion that I have. But when we're dealing with words, words have power behind them. They have meaning behind them. And all it takes to pronounce Hecate's name correctly is to walk into a library, grab a pre-Augustus, you know, Latin dictionary, and look at it yourself. And even a classical Greek dictionary, if you could just learn a little bit, you don't even have, you can take 10 minutes out and learn just a little bit of classical Greek and a little bit of pre-Augustus Latin, and you're going to say, Hecate, not Hecate. Yes. And you know, I thought I might be visual today, which I was going to show you the pronunciation of her in the pre-Augustus Latin dictionary, and to show you how obvious it is that the ancients called her Hecate. I mean, it's just obvious. I mean, and then Jason the Argonauts comes out and they say Hecate, so everybody starts saying Hecate, you know?
Yes.
Something like
that. Yeah. So it's Hecate, everybody, not Hecate. Yes. So...
and it has a little bit of a pronunciation at the beginning, so there's a little in the beginning, but it's slow.
Yes, Hecate, yeah. So it's very beautiful, and you know, I have stories about Hecate also, so it's kind of like another thing that we have in common. Now, let's just go and launch the video. There's a video that we have to see in here, and it's absolutely amazing. It's one of you know, of one of the songs of this album. The album is called Tales of the Moon Phase, and it's absolutely, I have the cover is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, the whole CD graphics is amazing. Did you do this, or was somebody else that did it for you?
You know, in my boredom in my boredom in India, I became quite adept with the computer. And no, I created all those graphics.
That's amazing.
You know, a lot of people don't have the cover you have. I re-released the CD early because I was just so excited to get it out, and I was working with a new record label. And but the actual CD, the way it was originally meant to come out, is now officially out, and you have that one. A lot of people that bought the CD don't have the same cover and the graphics that you have. We saved for its actual release.
Okay, okay. So, but this is an amazing. This is great because another thing that we have in common, I do all my covers and all my composition, all of it. The CDs that you have, that's what, it's me. So let's look at this video, and this is called Witch Moon. And was a video. Can you talk a little bit about this video that we're going to see?
Yes.
Who did it? How it was? It's your production. Who is behind this?
This is Love Share Media and myself. I mean, the ideas were formulated between me and the record company Love Share Media. And when they took me on, they said they want to make this more accessible and more visual. And so we had planned to do several videos of the songs before the CD had even come out. And unfortunately, I actually even signed some contracts with certain people. I probably would have had April in every single one of my videos if I had a choice. But I had some people I've already talked to. But this particular video is my favorite of the 3 that are going to be coming out over the span of the next month, because it captures my objective, which is to have people to confront the subconscious, their subconscious fears. It's a big part of my spiritual work. And I wanted to create, and I enjoy creating sounds that bring people's fears up, because my path is about working on your fears. The basic premise is you can't have fear if you have peace. If you overcome your fears, then peace is everlasting. So a lot of my work is going to be very visual and having people confront their fears and have them pulled to the surface so they can work through them. And I thought this video was a pretty good example of that. We were able to get, Love Share Media and I were able to get some footage from the 20s with movies that never came out. And April, she's in this, and she's absolutely perfect for this part. And it just kind of came together quite nicely.
It's absolutely amazing. And who's April?
April Chalet, she's the one dancing. She's the one dancing.
I know. But who's she? Can you tell us a little bit?
Well, she's a priestess in Salem, and it's funny because I stumbled onto her work a couple years ago and became somewhat of a fan, and then she contacted me right when I was going through this problem with this video. I was having a problem with this video. Originally had another belly dancer in it, another tribal belly dancer in it, and she had not seen the video. And I don't want to mention her name because she was a little bit upset with this. And I contacted her and her agency, and I said, can we use her for a video? And they said, absolutely yes. And then they saw the video. And they said, absolutely not. And so right when I got the email from Rachel saying she didn't want to be in a video where she was displayed as any type of witch, April emailed me, unrelated, just to say, hey, I like your CDs, on the same day.
Yes.
And I went, oh my God, let me see if I can ask April if she can, if she wants to be in this video. Her answer was yes.
She's wonderful.
It was so much fun.
I know April. I just wanted you to tell people who she is because it's important that it come from you. I think she's fantastic.
Yeah, she's a very potent and powerful witch out there. One thing she was perfect for this because she's another one where I could intuitively feel she was tapping into the same ocean that I was. I could feel it. And that's not very common. As you said, we have that with our CDs and our music as well. Yeah. I could tell April was tapped into the Dark Mother. And how I know when someone's really tapped into her is there's an expression of power, but they're also very genuine and very good people. I mean, there's no way you could confront this force called Hecate and end up being a difficult or bad person. I even myself, my teacher in India would always say to me, you never want Kali's negative eye pointed on you when you're her devotee. You don't ever want her wrath coming on you if you're her devotee. And so really speaking, people that worship the Dark Mother, I find to always be very genuine, very real, and very nice individuals because we want our mother's approval. Yes. We don't want her negative karma coming back to us. And I could just tell that April lived in a very high space of consciousness with that force of the Dark Mother. And I don't find that to be very common. I wish it was more common.
Well, yeah, me too. So let's see the video, and then we'll talk about it later. Okay?
Awesome.
Yes. Okay. Here we go.
Manera estudia a los puercos.
Of the threshing floor.
This is just amazing. It's amazing. I just and you know what I like about it? It's this very well, you maintained all of that imagery of the 30s, so there's no you know, oh, this is April, oh, this is the movie from 1930, you know what I mean? So it's kind of, everything is blended together, and it's so beautiful. You know, I've urged people to look at this video and see if they can actually figure it out what is going on, because there's a lot going on. There's
a lot going on, and
yes.
you know, out of everything I've ever done, books, CDs, I am more proud of Tales of Moonface. As a matter of fact, when I was done recording this CD, I had a really hard time letting go of the whole experience and moving on from it. I'm still struggling. And I've never had that experience before where you know, Hecate 2 was pretty intense for me, and there was a lot that went into it. Asterian Astrology I've been trying to put together properly for 15 years. It's been a lot of work. This Tales of Moonface was fun. I had such an amazing time. Like, even in the studio, because this was actually recorded in a studio, or my other CDs were recorded on Pro Tools at my house. This was, I was in a recording studio. This was a very different experience here. And I recorded it on purpose through the 3 eclipses in June and July. And I wanted the energy of these eclipses in the sounds and the whole vibration of it. And when it was done, there was this feeling of emptiness, because I enjoyed the whole process. And so now I'm in this mode of putting these videos together, and I have a couple more that are coming. I have She-Goat as a video, and it's we're going to be putting that out shortly.
I want to see that. Yeah,
that one is it's very dark, and what you just saw, Witch Moon, is very dark, but Witch Moon is darker, and we're releasing this one probably around Halloween. But I'm still in this place of like living in this vibration of this CD.
You know what it is? I don't know if you feel this also, because it's so ephemeral. Because although it is recorded, the process is ephemeral. And when people ask me, you know, oh, do you write, you know, the music, or do you kind of like do a scheme on what you do? No, I just sit with the microphone open and I do it. And that's how it is. What? Yeah, that's how I do it. And it's just so ephemeral, you know, you don't really have a recipe for it. You just wait. This is my process. I just wait for inspiration to come, and that's it. And then I just, you know, layered and layered and layered and layered, and that's how it works for me. So so I love that ephemeral part of the process. And it's exactly what you say. Sometimes it's kind of almost like a narcotic. You know, you want that. You want that kind of like, it's so wonderful. The process of art, it's always inebriating, isn't it? I mean, it's almost like this sweet wine that you just don't want to kind of end to sip. And it's, you know, sometimes it's very hard, like, give me my wine, I don't want to let it go. I know, it's really, really strange. But it's do you think that this is ephemeral? Although, I mean, everything that, you know what I mean? So it's unique. And that's what, when you said I wanted the energy of the equinoxes in here, that's the kind of thought process when I think about what I do also. That's what I think about. I want something unique. I want something that it's ephemeral, that it's registered in this, but it's really not here, because it's past already. You know what I mean? So it's kind of that 100%. Kind of existence and not existence. You know what I mean? The things that exist and do not exist anymore that I like.
Well, that's one thing about, you know, Tales of Moonface for me, you know, and like you said, my objective when I record a CD, I try to, you know, I go into ritual for a while, and I try to capture through sound what I went through. And, you know, when I finished, like, Hecate Nukti-Palouse, Hecate Nukti-Palouse came out, you know, last year, and when I finished it, I can honestly look back and say, did you actually achieve your goal of capturing that vibration of what I go through experiences? And my answer would be maybe. Where with Tales of Moonface, it just happened. Where every time I would have this experience that it was really important for me to capture that experience, I would come out after recording a song going, oh my God, I did it. I did it. And it's like every single song reflects on that CD a very particular experience I had with Hecate. And so I consider it one of my greatest successes because it truly did capture what I was going through internally with her through the recording process. And so does the video Witch Moon. Like the Witch Moon is my favorite video that I'm probably going to do, although I'm going to be bothering April about Welcome to Styx, which I want to do something with that. I want to do a video for that next year. Yes. And so I'm going to be, you know, harassing her about that soon. But outside of that, Witch Moon, actually Journey to Go, they're all great, but Witch Moon, really I left also going, I did it. I captured the exact feeling I wanted to capture. And that doesn't happen all the time.
No. And it's very interesting because I'm listening to you talk about describing what you do, and I'm kind of thinking that I could say exactly the same thing that you say. Indigo actually heard me in other interviews when people ask me, you know, well, I try to capture, you know, what it is in the sound form. You know, I'm inspired by, and I did that with Chants of Old, I'm inspired by the deity, and then I just channel it. You know what I mean? I just record it. Not even, you know, you can't really censor it. You just kind of like, just put it out there, and then see what happens. And the second CD was the same way. So I'm very happy that, you know, you kind of like have the same kind of the same thought process. You know what I mean? It's really
you know, weird. I was actually waiting. I was waiting for your second CD. I bought it the moment it was released.
Really?
I bought it the day it was released. I bought it, and that's because I love, you know, I love ritual music, and I don't think there's enough of it out there. And I was so happy to run into yours because I'm like, I need a break from myself, you know. And anyone who does any type of art, there's times. You need to be broken out of your own stuff and your own. Especially, I've done several CDs and books, and I get totally exhausted with myself. And it's so nice that your music is out there because it's on all the time because of that reason. You know, your music I use to take a break from my own stuff, and I get to stay in that same vibe, but with someone else's essence there. So it's really nice.
Yeah. It's very nice. So this is an amazing CD. Now it's available everywhere, right? This is available on Amazon. This is available.
You know, I had the minor problem I told you about, the song Wizard. When Love Share Media, when we finished it, for some reason, when it went into distribution, an 11-minute song was reduced to 1 minute, and so it went on recall. And officially tomorrow, it's available everywhere, all over again. I mean, the stuff that's went on around the CD has been pretty crazy, and it's been a very hectic experience. But it's been a very rewarding one at the same time.
It's great.
But yeah,
it's really great.
everywhere tomorrow.
It's wonderful. So people, Jade Sol Luna, Tales of the Moon Face. It's a beautiful cover, beautiful CD to have, and it's absolutely, the music is just amazing. It's just, there's no words. I mean, you have to listen to it. You just listen to Witch Moon, but you really have to listen to this because, you know, it's like... there's no words that can describe this type of music or this type of chanting because you really have to take it into yourself in order to actually experience it. So you really have to listen to it. And it's a personal experience because what I hear, it's, you know what, I think that your music, it's exactly what happens with when you go to a museum to see, you know, pictures, like, you know, portraits, oils, you know what I mean? Every person has its own interpretation of, but it's because their own eyes will take in whatever they have to, you know what I mean, at that point in time of their specific, you know, evolution, where they are right now. And your music, it's like that. I feel that people, when listen to them, to the music, even though you have kind of like, you know, titles, everything, there is something that they listen and it means something to them that probably, you know, it would not mean to me or anybody else. So it's a unique experience, I think. And not all music is like that. You know what I mean? Or not all CDs are like that. That's a very unique, you know, that's the very unique quality of art, of true art. Yeah. That's,
you know, these videos are fun, and there's a possibility I may end up doing a video for every single song and then release a DVD where you can watch them all together.
Oh, I would love that. That's unique. Nobody does that. Nobody does DVDs of there's no, I mean, I know that, you know, for instance, George Michael did it, Madonna did it, but there's nothing, absolutely nothing like that.
well, you know, that's because
nothing.
it's like everything you were saying. This is art to me. It's like, do I consider myself? I was a musician in the early '90s. Am I really? Do I consider myself a musician? Not really. I consider myself an artist. And it's exactly what you say. I'm trying to create sounds to produce an experience.
Yes.
And it's not entirely the same thing as when I was a bass player in the band Kill the Gods. You know, I mean, this is me being an artist, and I'm trying to capture, and it's like using colors. It's like using, it's very much like sitting back and going, how do I paint this picture, but with sound?
Absolutely. Yes. It's absolutely amazing. So tomorrow, you will be available.
Well, tomorrow it's out everywhere already via MP3, but I am encouraging people to get the disc because of the artwork inside. And as a matter of fact, the one that I sent to you is only partially finished. There's the one that's out there that goes out tomorrow is a little bit more intense, actually.
It's so really?
Yeah, you know, when you open up the cover and you see Baphomet, you see that very particular vision of Baphomet when you open it up.
Yeah.
She's on the CD and she's on the back, and so that image is pretty much the stamp of this CD.
It's beautiful.
And it took and let me tell you, it takes a lot for me to do these things, and I'll tell you why. And I have been in this very interesting world where not only, I'm a worshiper of Hecate, the Dark Mother. I live in a very accessible world, and I'm an astrologer to people who have completely normal lives, and I work with Hollywood. I have a lot of celebrity clients. This other side, a lot of them don't actually know. And now it's all coming together at the same time, and I'm going to watch to see where things fall. Because
it's very interesting. So you kind
this
of
other
keep
side of me is coming out.
I don't really want the celebrities to listen to my CDs. Is that it? I don't want them to know.
It's not that. See, I've had this problem in the past with the fact that I do work so much with Hollywood, and I could sit there and spend an hour name dropping, and it doesn't mean anything. But the truth of the matter is, I've been able to have this incredible life as an astrologer. I've never had another job in my life because of these people. So at the same time, I also have to be very careful of how this is all presented. Absolutely. But I'm finally at this place where I'm in their lives, and they know the core of who I am as an individual, where now I'm able to start releasing these things while being able to explain them to them on a very conscious level of what my path is all about. So I have had like Cheryl Lee, who is in Twin Peaks, and she's in a bunch of movies. She wrote the foreword to my book Hecate 2, and she was the first one to say, Jade, this side of you I love. I love this side of you. And I don't think you should actually be worried about its outcome because we know who you are. And so this is the first year where it's all coming out to that world, and it's been a mixed response, but it's also been very freeing for me.
Well, let me tell you one thing, and this is where I come from, and sometimes I really can relate to that because it's very interesting that you talk about that because I'm an Alexandrian, and we come from Alexanders, obviously.
Yes.
And he was very intimate with all of the celebrities that you can imagine, and I'm not going to talk about it, but he really was close to, and some of the celebrities actually were very close to him, and including other stuff. But we can actually talk about that in the private party that we have afterwards. But it's very interesting that you're saying that because you know what? It's all about. If they are true artists, which I believe that, I want to believe that Hollywood has some true artists, which I think they have, they really don't mind. They really don't. Because they really can understand that. They really do understand. Although they might be whatever they have, whatever they are, but they can, that part of you can kind of fit. It's fine. Because if they are true artists, they can handle it.
Well, one thing I will tell you is this is to help my case in New York getting a publishing deal, which this all starts again in the next couple of months.
Yes.
What is going to be amazing is a lot of them are going to stand up and say they are the sign right before.
Yes.
And so there's several families I've worked with in Hollywood that are very powerful in Hollywood, who have made this transition years ago because of my work with them. And with this whole next movement, they will be coming out and saying this. So it's going to be very, very interesting to watch this all unfold.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it is what I think that, you know, if people and you've been proving, you know, that you're absolutely an amazing astrologer, and everybody, you know, are faithful, you know, to what you have to say, and they really seek you to, you know, kind of look at things in a different way and a very specific way. So I don't think that they want to lose you, even if you say that you like to walk around with a pig's head in your head. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter, because they will find it eccentric probably, but they will not want to lose you. So I don't think that there's no problem in there.
What you just said was so funny, because I'll tell you why. The song Witch Moon originally opened up with the sound of pigs squealing.
Oh, really?
And we had, like,
well, there you go.
In a very dark manner, where she's whispering in Spanish.
Yes.
She's speaking about the pigs in that song. She's talking about how the pigs are loud and bother her, and they're so annoying. So you start talking about walking around with a pig's head. That is hysterical, because the song originally opened up with the squealing of pigs.
That's very interesting, because of the pigs. When I was listening to the song, I was listening to it, and I know Spanish, so I understand what she's saying. And I often thought, you know, when I was kind of listening to it, I thought, oh, she's so right. Sometimes I think that that's exactly what I'm doing. Because she thinks about, you know, sometimes it is true. I mean, you're speaking to somebody and you really realize that you're really wasting your time. And there is this kind of metaphor for that in Portuguese, in the Portuguese language and in the Spanish language, that it almost says that you're kind of giving pearls to pigs. And that's what she say in the video. So it's so amazing that she said,
that's hysterical.
And I'm thinking, wow.
Well, it's funny that you know that, because a lot of people are saying, what is she saying at the beginning? I'm like, well, I don't speak Spanish. We threw that in there and Love to Share Media. Someone walked in and said, I do, like, can you go say something? I said, this was going to be about pigs, and can you say something? Yes. And so she comes in and she whispers that right into the mic. But nevertheless, we changed the whole song. And so here we are, still talking about pigs.
But that's Spanish, right? That's Spanish.
Yes,
Spanish.
it is. Yes, it is.
Yes, because the accent is a Spanish from Europe. It's a Spanish, not really kind of like a Latin American Spanish. No. No,
it's not. It was done, and it was, and she was quite terrified as she was speaking that, because she had no idea what was going on. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I mean,
sometimes it doesn't matter. They don't have to understand. They just have to come in, tap, and if the person is sensible enough, they will tap it in, and they will do whatever they have to do, and then they will go away. It's the way it works. You know, it's so amazing. I really love it. I really do. It's amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, Jade Sol Luna in Witch Talk, and we're almost done. We have just 10 minutes, and just tell me a little bit about, you know, you were involved in Hecate, her sacred fires, or not?
Yes, I am.
Your music, and you're part of the Coven of Hecate, or not? Are you? No.
I don't honestly. I don't know. I might be.
You don't know. You might be.
But I
think that they signed you up.
They might. So people have thrown me into these groups for a while, and I don't really know which ones I belong to and which ones I do not. Yeah. And you know, I love the fact that there's so many people out there worshiping the Mother, and there's all these groups out there. You know, and that's one thing about me. I come from an Indian consciousness. I spent my 20s in cities where the whole city worshiped Kali. You know, in Calcutta when I was there, she has 2 million worshippers there.
That's amazing.
There's a very sense of secular kind of, you know, protectiveness that goes on in Wicca about other people and what they do. Where I come from, culture where everyone worships the Mother. So I don't have this sense of possessiveness over the Mother that other people actually do here. And I really love seeing everyone out there expressing Hecate. I actually really do. And so all these groups that are out there, I might be in them. I'm not saying that I don't support them because I don't know what's going on with them. I'm not on Facebook as much as I would like to be. But I am thrilled to see so many people out there worshiping her and realizing her in their own various ways. It's quite a nice thing.
But you know, what do you think that it's happening? There are so many goddesses and gods, for that matter, and Hecate, it's always the center. I mean, there's always this popularity. It's like Hecate, it's Lady Gaga. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the now, and it's just something that I hope that she doesn't really kind of get mad at me with this, but you know, it's in a good way. Lady Gaga, it's really, I really think that Lady Gaga, again, another true artist. She really expresses a lot. Yeah,
I agree.
So I think that, you know, there's so many people that really kind of like touched suddenly with the deepest love for the goddess Hecate, and it's absolutely amazing. So what do you think, what's going on?
I think personally, for one, that she exists so deeply inside of every human being. I mean, her work, and this is known. This was, you know, my training in India. You know, you're taught right away that Kali is the divine psychotherapist. I mean, she is the shit that you don't want to look at. And she's the stuff that is inside of you that inevitably has to be revealed and seen consciously before you can evolve. I believe because her imprint and her work is so utterly human that she keeps surviving through all these transitions, because I call her the archetype, you know, spiritual therapist. You know, she's the type to say, you can look at the light if you want. Light, you're going to get it in the end for all eternity. Why not look at the shit that's stopping you from getting there? And that's her. Hecate is all, and I'm not saying that she is the stuff, but she is the path you have to go through in order to master yourself. So in India, this is very interesting, no goddess has pumped out as many saints and masters as Kali has. You don't hear of people, I got God realized through Lakshmi, I got God realized through, you know, Saraswati, but you have a lineage of masters for thousands of years that have gotten God realization through Kali. Because when you experience the ultimate dark, you automatically open yourself up to the opposite, which is infinite light. So when you experience that dark, you go right into the light. It's like the Buddha say nirvana and nirvana. One is infinite dark, the other one is infinite light. But if you run after the light and you just experience infinite light, you have to pass through the shadow and infinite dark before you can experience that. So she is a very fast path. In India, Kali is the fastest path there is, because you're looking right at the stuff that you need to look at in order to move on and move to the next level of consciousness. So without her, no real spiritual work can be done, because she is the shadow. And she is that force out there that is helping you and assisting you go into the light. But you have to look at your stuff consciously. So we call her the divine psychotherapist, because she wants you to look at the things that you don't want to look at. Absolutely. And in order to spiritually advance or evolve, you have to look at those things. And she's not for everybody, because I don't think people really want to do that type of work and look at themselves so consciously. But nevertheless, she is. And so she's always going to survive. True.
Yeah, that's absolutely, and it's very interesting, because she's the one who gives you the light, although she's darkness. And also she's connected with birth, which is very interesting, because birth is when you see the first light. So and you know what I mean? So it's kind of like everything is just so beautiful that, you know, and there's so many people. It's just, I just wanted to know what you thought about it, because there's this huge movement, and we know about Sarita and we know about all of that, but it's really an amazing work. And
it is an amazing work, and I not, you know, Sarita is. She is right for that work. She's perfectly fit for that work. And this is the thing is, now here's my, you know, this is going to bother people, but it just is what it is. I believe wholeheartedly that the people that are involved in Wicca right now might be some of the heaviest hitters ever inside of this religion that we know about now. I do think, though, there's going to be a point where we do have to come together a little bit better than we have. Because in order to make this particular religion expand and become more of a path of realization and consciousness, it requires more unity from the people that are in it. And I believe, like, even the time of like Ray Buckland, Jennifer Ara, and all these times, I believe that phase worked so powerfully because of how close those people were together in those movements, where I'm concerned that there might be more separation with people that really carry and possess a lot of power to bring unity. And that's what I really hope that we can all kind of come together to formulate, because no one can do this by themselves. I don't also want to come off as someone that's trying to, you know, bring Hecate into the light, and I don't want to come off like that person. There's a lot of people that are needed to come together in order to really create something powerful, and I think we're at the threshold of that. That's my opinion.
That's good. That's very good. Ladies and gentlemen, Jade Sol Luna, this wonderful album, Tales of the Moonface. It will be out tomorrow and available for everybody. Another wonderful book, Asterian Astrology, The Lost System of Alexandrian the Great. Still out. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it everywhere, basically. Some New York Barnes and Nobles, right? And some, what was the other one? It was New York and...
Yeah, New York and Los Angeles, you can get them.
Oh, Los Angeles. Los Angeles, exactly. So Los Angeles and New York, Barnes and Nobles, and everywhere online. So thank you so much, Jade Luna, for being here with us and to share, all of this process, all of these things. It was just an amazing show. I really loved the way you talked about things and how you're not. I mean, I really respect you because I think that you're one of those people that really are not afraid to speak. And it's necessary. We need more people like you, I think. And
I appreciate
whomever don't really let you go or express your ideas, they're probably a fool. So we're here to kind of like let you speak and let you tell people that your ideas and disseminating it. This is the book. People don't really forget. Asterian Astrology. Thank you so much, Jade Luna, for being here with us. Don't go anywhere. I'm going just to finalize the show, and I will be with you in a minute, okay?
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. I really had a good time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes.
Could I have a closing word just for 1 second?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The Egyptians spent hundreds of years erecting sculptures to calculate the precession of the equinox. It is very important that we honor that by moving forward with this new zodiac. Mm-hmm. I mean, if the Sumerians and the Egyptians are going to spend that amount of time in calculating this wobble and the correct zodiac, I definitely think we need to look at it.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. And here are the words of Jade Sol Luna about this new zodiac that needs to be looked at. And if you want to begin to do that, just get a copy of Asterian Astrology. And, if you're an astrologer, if you're curious about this, and if you have an open mind, because that's what we want, it's people with open minds, you can actually look at it and, see it by yourself and contact Jade Sol Luna and have a conversation. Why not? So thank you so much, Jade Sol Luna, to be here with us. And
thank you.
And it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. So that's it. That's the final words. We'll be here next week with more witch talk. Until then, have a wonderful, wonderful